What it do, what it do? It's your boy Andre Spruell, and you are tuning in to the Middle of the Fence podcast. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day, whether you're listening, watching, or both. As I like to say, time is the most valuable thing on this earth because we can spend it but can't make it back. So as always, thank you for your time. And if you're a first-time viewer, welcome. And if this isn't your first time, welcome back. And today's episode is titled Real Estate on Both Sides of the Fence, Opportunity or Exploitation. So in this episode, it digs into the financial realities behind the fences with real data and real stories. And before I get into the episode, just really quickly, for those that aren't familiar, I do have a real estate background. I've been working as a director of operations and marketing for a real estate team a little over 3 years now. So this was a topic that I felt like just needed to be discussed and perfectly ties into the theme of middle of the fence. So let's start on the tough terrain side, where the game often feels rigged before you even get a chance to play. And I want to highlight 3 predatory practices that happen in a urban type of environment. And number 1 is reverse mortgages. And simply put, reverse mortgages is basically mortgage your monthly house payment. For a reverse mortgage, it's lower costs up front, and then towards the back end of it, the costs get higher. And they usually target elderly homeowners with equity but limited income. And I personally relate to this because this was done to my grandfather when it came to our primary family house in Orange, New Jersey, which, again, high crime rate neighborhood, but is in the stages of gentrification at this time. And this is from January 2012 from the CFPB, or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And they found that reverse mortgage solutions, which is a company headquartered in Houston, Texas, that serves 48 states, reverse mortgage solutions advertisements misrepresented that consumers could not lose their home and that they would have the right to stay in their home for the rest of their lives. The company also falsely told potential customers that they would have no payments with the reverse mortgage and that they would, quote unquote, always retain ownership and, quote unquote, can't be forced to leave. In fact, consumers with the reverse mortgage still have payments and can default and lose their home if they fail to comply with the loan terms. So something like reverse mortgage programs, it strips generational wealth in Black and brown communities because you just see those instances of homeowners in those environments being taken advantage of in that regard. And it's simply just from not being educated enough and simply just not knowing. And the predatory financial institutions don't just happen with reverse mortgages, but it happens with other companies, that, like, for example, a Klarna or a firm. Hey, you can't afford this? Sign up and just pay it over monthly installments, and then you actually end up paying more. And then if you don't make the payments, then they really get you, and that's what they want. And again, I'm no financial expert. Please refer to other people that are much more well-versed in that aspect than I am. And the second way people try to take advantage of those in a tough terrain environment when it comes to real estate is through lowball cash offers. So there's investors or those we buy houses companies that'll offer someone or their family straight cash for their house, but at a much lower value than what the home is actually worth. So for example, someone like that can come in, offer you $250,000 cash, but the home is actually worth $500,000. So someone that doesn't know better, they think, oh, I'm getting $250,000 cash. Okay, perfect. But you're actually losing out on hundreds of thousands, and they know that, and they're going to get that property, fix it up, resell it for more than what it's worth and take advantage of people like that. And according to National Community Reinvestment Coalition, better known as NCRC, in 2023, the historical legacy of redlining has created conditions in certain neighborhoods that make them susceptible to acquisition by speculative investors seeking undervalued properties. This vulnerability is linked to persistent disinvestment and lack of traditional lending infrastructure in these areas, contributing to issues of housing affordability and racial wealth gaps. So, again, simply just someone knowing the game, knowing the system, and taking advantage of someone that doesn't, and it happens more often than what we would probably like to realize or even know of. And the third and final way that I wanted to highlight for how people on the tough terrain get taken advantage of when it comes to a real estate matter is the heirs' property and lack of legal support. So families lose inherited homes because ownership wasn't properly transferred or documented. And this is from the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture. The USDA says heirs' property issues account for over $32 billion lost. USDA says heirs' property issues account for over $32 billion in lost Black-owned land and property value. Let me run that back because your boy tripped up a little bit, because every time I see that number with this fact, it just, makes me feel a certain type of way. So again, USDA says heirs' property issues account for over $32 billion in lost Black-owned land and property value. I want you guys to sit on that for a quick second. Meanwhile, across the fence, real estate isn't just survival, it's a tool for wealth creation. So let's look at the three ways that the Affluent Acres has access, advantage, and equity when it comes to real estate. So one, lower property taxes in relative terms, varies from state to state. So suburban areas often have lower tax rates but higher values, meaning more investment in schools and infrastructure. So property taxes. So tax rate is the assessed value of the home times the rate, which equals your monthly payment. Andre, I don't know numbers and all that, so what does it mean? Glad you asked. So an example is, if you have a home that's worth $400,000 and your tax rate is 1%, then you're paying $4,000 in taxes annually, right? But if that $400,000 home has a 1.5% tax rate, you're paying $6,500 annually in taxes. So the reason why a lot of suburban communities have lower tax rates than those in urban background or upbringing is because in urban environments, people are a lot more reliant on public transportation. So they're a lot more reliant on trains and buses and things like that. And it's not cheap to maintain those. So because of that, it's that's why it's like a double whammy, where it's like, okay, so that money that has to get put towards the public transport in urban environments or stuff that gets taken away that could be allocated elsewhere. I'm putting you guys onto free game here. I'm just saying. Second advantage on the Affluent Acres side when it comes to real estate is easier access to financing and credit. And when it comes to this real estate stuff, it is all about numbers and literally numbers. And affluent buyers typically have higher credit scores, allowing them to secure lower interest rates and more favorable mortgage terms. And that's understandable, right? And in 2022 from the Federal Reserve, they mentioned that the median credit score for white borrowers was 734 compared to 677 for Black borrowers. shaping access to home ownership. So obviously, growing up in a tough terrain environment, finances are a lot more harder to come by just from not knowing as much and not having as much resources to be better at it. So you need a 650 credit score baseline to even buy a property. And if you grew up in the hood, you're like, yo, 650 credit score, like, that's not bad, man. Like, you're doing good. But in the grand scheme of things, and especially in this game, that's not that good. It's the absolute bare minimum. And again, just something as simple as that, having access to better financing and credit in the long term benefits you much more, and it's a clear advantage towards Affluent Acres side. And the third major advantage on the Affluent Acres side when it comes to this matter is the intergenerational wealth transfer. So families in these areas often have help with down payments or buy homes outright. And it's not like everyone that grows up in a suburban community has family that is, ready to sign a check or give them money to help them buy a home. I know of people and through mutual friends where, they grew up in a suburban environment. Let's say a young couple grew up in a suburban environment, but they fought tooth and nail to, save their money and put themselves in a position to buy a home. But on the flip side, you see young homeowners whose, parents have a trust fund that they're able to pull from for the down payment on a home or to buy the home outright, or a portion of their stock portfolio to be able to pull from to help with the down payment or buy the property outright. And this is from Urban Institute in 2022. White households are 2.5 times more likely to receive family financial assistance for a home purchase. 2.5 times more likely. So when you put it side by side, it's not just two different real estate markets, it's two different realities. And at the end of the day, it's just another example of the clear advantage of access and opportunities that are on the Affluent Acres side compared to the lack thereof on the tough terrain. And regardless, both sides face their own pressures, but clearly the game isn't played on level ground. Where you grow up shapes how you think about home. One side tries to keep it, the other's learning how to leverage it. And this topic as a whole really resonated with me, not just because it's my day job, aside from podcasting, but it's also because, how I mentioned earlier, my grandfather got lured into the reverse mortgage scheme, and after he passed away, there was some family stuff that went down, and no clear transfer or anything like that, and then we ended up losing the family home. And I've been living on my own since I graduated college. So from age 22 until my age now, currently 29 at the time of recording, I've been living on my own. And there was a period where, beginning of 2024 and a little more than halfway through this year, I was the primary breadwinner for me and my brother for our household. And it's not like I was making enough money or had the financial backing to comfortably get both of us through it. But luckily, we were able to get by, and was blessed to have enough to get by and make it happen, because there was no home base to go back to. And when it comes to this real estate stuff, we just delved into like the negative side of things, and we looked at when you have advantages and know the game and how to play it. But for some people, they don't have a home base to go back to, point blank period. So, I really hope that this episode gave insight, and it's about knowledge, because knowledge is equity and we can all own a piece of it. If you like this episode, please be sure to continue showing us love on the podcast streaming platforms you already know: Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And when you're there, give us a 5-star rating, comment, and follow. And if you're keeping up with Middle of the Fence on YouTube, whether you're watching the full episodes or the clips, like, comment, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you could be the first to know when the latest episode drops. And if any of these episodes resonate or you have something that you want to say to me personally, I try my best to respond to everyone that supports the show and tunes in. So please be sure to show the boy some love at Andre Spruell across all major social media platforms. And thank you guys for tuning in to today's episode. And as always, no matter what side of the fence you grew up on, we're all more alike than we think. My name is Andre Spruell. Catch you guys next time.